Hello and welcome back to another episode of Pop Culture Reacts as we are working our way through Radiohead's OK Computer and we are at track 8, Electioneering.
What do you reckon this one's going to be about?
Is it about the downfall of Mugabe's government and how he, for many years, kept himself in power by the use of electioneering?
We're not reacting to Sabaton today. I imagine
Is
they
it?
probably do. They probably do have a song, or they will have a song at a certain point, won't they? And for those who are watching for Radiohead and don't know Sabaton, we do Sabaton. Fantastic band that looks at historical periods, doesn't it? Like looks at key moments throughout history via the medium of song and music.
They do.
Give them a go.
Um, but I take it it's not that then.
I mean, like you're kind of in the world of electioneering. It is about the title. We did fitter, happier, and you're sort of saying about where we may go from here. Like I would say that it it doesn't almost like a bit of a spoiler. Like this one spins much more off into the political sphere, I'd say, rather than focusing as much as we do on us being sheep. Although there's a degree of that whenever you get into political sphere, but less around that technology side and more about the political landscape or how the political landscape of the world we're in and the future world may well be.
Cool. So, shall we
We love
be?
a bit of politics on this show, don't we?
I know. So, should we be led down the garden path of electioneering?
Let's do this. Electioneering.
But can I rely on your
You
vote?
go electioneering. We go electioneering. Over to you.
It's like a punky version of the Kinks, and I fucking like this. In a surprise, I guess this is one of the ones where you were in your list of what you'd think I'd like and would have issues with. Guessing this is one that you thought he'll like this one.
Yeah. Like but I said there was a track, stroke two tracks that I thought would be your least favorite. This was instantaneously written down by me as this one will be your favorite track on the album. Not to say that you won't love other tracks, spoilers, but yeah, this is the one that I thought would stand out. Certainly most for you musically.
Yeah,
And of course, sort of lyrically where it's going, it does. I thought you'd like it for that as well. Like we often when we do our more political songs, they tend to have a, let's say, an anti-establishment, anti-government, whichever one it is at the time, but probably more like kind of left and rallying against the. Let's go with the abuse of power to assist the rich rather than assist the everyone, and this has it, doesn't it? Like
yeah.
this is, it's all right there, isn't it?
If this had a music video, I am seeing Tim Nice but Dim from fucking Harry Enfield and Chums with his giant fucking Tory rosette on his thing, knocking on doors. That's that sort of uh, I can rely on your vote, and yes,
Yeah,
we'll be going forward. Don't worry about that. No, it's fine if you're not going to have any money. It's fine because we're taking the country better. Yeah,
yeah.
and yes, this was what 97. This album came out.
Well, I was going to say, don't forget contextually, like while this is wailing at, and I'm with you on the Tim Nice but Dim, but this is Labour country, people. This is New Labour.
But this, hearing this now, I'm thinking this is what how idiots would have sort of been brought in with like Brexit stuff, and
Well, I mean, like a lot of it kind of leans into stuff that kind of come out of like Reagan into Bush, because they are, as much as they're a UK band, they don't tend to be quite so insular, do they? I think they're
no,
looking at like world politics, world economies, and things like that. But yeah, to go very political here, we said on the last one, like I think I certainly feel like at the time I was suckered, might be a bit too extreme, but maybe I bought into things like New Labour. My God, we needed a change, but I think probably it was nowhere near the change that we might have thought it was at the time. And actually, what we were getting was something that was, to a large degree, built off of things like Reaganomics, and not too
mm,
dissimilar to the right. The right and the left become very central, but not in that way I'd like it to be central. Like it wasn't
yeah,
like we found a new ground. Is a bit like we'll do a bit of lefty stuff and a bit of righty stuff, like enough to keep enough of the audience or enough of the voting public to probably be placated, and yeah, to go back to like kind of fit or happy to fit into the constraints of what we want people to do, rather than maybe a real um, political movement with a real reason behind it. And it's still
yeah,
falling into that. Yeah, no, honestly, we'll go forward, you goes backwards, and somewhere we will meet. And this kind of nebulous somewhere, like we'll probably meet when we die, because you're going to keep going that way, which is the way where the money is, and I'm going to keep going that way, which is the way where the money isn't, and yeah, like that. Ultimately, we all end up in the same place, but some of us will have a lot easier ride to get there than others. In my head, anyway, like that's
yeah,
kind of how it sings out to me. And yeah, as I say, I think I wouldn't have. I think when I heard it at the time, for me, it was all about. Because I say we're caught up in a kind of furore of the UK changing, and I think I jump initially to the kind of, this is the anti-Tory, anti-conservative, but I do think it it's not only that. I think it's about the construct of what electioneering is. It's
Yeah,
the how do I say what I need to say to get to win your vote, rather than how do I say something that will fundamentally lead to a change.
but yeah. As I said, it on lyrics and stuff. It hits just as hard now as it did then, and it's still as poignant and
Yeah,
as prominent now.
yeah, and you know, like we haven't done that a ton yet, and I guess we will pick that up at the end. But where we've talked about the maybe like the somber tone of this album, suggesting that maybe this shiny new UK that we're living in wasn't as shiny. All of these
Mm,
things that have always been there are still there, and the integration of technology is possibly, you know, taking the control mechanisms out away from religion into a new religion. That religion being the music you listen to, or you know, fast forward to now, what people are saying on YouTube, or probably more in reality, what people are saying on TikTok. But you know, the mechanics haven't changed, and really, kind of the only way to shine a light on it is by someone saying, like, we're falling for the same shit again, and
yeah,
we're falling for it over and over again. Like, funny enough, and this is not because I already thought it'd be your like kind of one of your favourites from it. Don't play it anymore, and I haven't played it for years. There's been some hints in interviews that they don't like it. They don't like the song. I think that's always been like softer hints, but I think the removal of it. So the other song that they tend to never play live is "Creep," and I think that is very much because, you know, we said when we did the Bends, like, it was the song that brought them the most success, but brought them the most pressure. But I think because it's probably the most asked for, they're probably sick of it. But this one
yeah,
kind of fell off sets. One of the things that I kind of wonder as to why is, and this isn't a critique for me on it, because I really like the song. It is certainly on this album one of the most on the nose songs, isn't it? It
yeah.
doesn't tend to lean quite heavily into your similes, your metaphors, and all that sort of thing. This is kind of punchy, the most
Blunt.
punchy, then the most blunt one, yeah. And I do wonder whether kind of that's the way they've moved away from, why they've moved away from it, or maybe they just don't like it. You know, sometimes it happens with bands, doesn't it? There's a
Yeah,
song that they do that they don't like. But yeah, I love it. Despite the band seem to not being a big fan, I do think it's a fantastic song.
but yeah, as I said, musically, it ticks all the boxes and stuff. You
Yeah.
know, distortion, janglia riff. It said it the riff and like the guitar on it is like it's like a Kinks song, but played through a punk setup. It's like a punk amp and on like a
Yeah.
70s
Yeah.
down tuned punk guitar. And it's just like, oh, just, oh,
And
feed
and
it
you
to me.
you know, we've said like how you hear some of the tracks at that time is, you know, in pubs playing, or it's playing on the radio and stuff like this. Um, this is the sort of song that you could much more see playing in a dirtier pub, and I don't necessarily mean dirty as they haven't like cleaned the floors, but you know, like that bit more of an edgier night out. Whereas, um,
What you mean,
as
the
much
sort
as
of
the
places that I
content,
go?
well, I was gonna say, as much as the content I think is in there, Karma Police would have played in a sports bar potentially later in the evening, as much as an indie night, whereas this plays on an indie punky night rather than in that sports bar. You know.
Yeah, but yeah, um, we're in a fight for two now so far for top songs, and this has jumped in. But yeah, it is good to see that they still, you know, at least one song on every album so far, obviously with the Bends and with this, obviously just on the Bends, where they are still happy to kick back to that sort of Pablo Honey edginess. I'm going to use as because obviously with Pablo there is Obviously, we
A
didn't
lot of it is
record it
that,
in the
isn't it?
end.
Yeah, yeah. A
Yeah,
lot of that, a lot of Pablo is in this style, isn't it?
yeah.
Or
So,
this is
I
in the
know,
style of Pablo. Yeah.
yeah, because obviously we lost all of when we did Pablo Honey. But what I said during that, I could hear what Ash then sort of took from it and did what they did from it, or um, like so the other sort of bands around that sort of time, and it's that
They were
sort of their
they
version
felt
coming
angrier
back of
youths, didn't they? In Pablo, like
agginess.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Probably the more revolutionary changed the world than the changed the world with. Not I was gonna say with not with kindness, but change the world with
thought.
actions as well as words, rather than yeah thought and consideration. As I feel like this album more leans to. This album more leans to that. Don't be tricked. You do have some power, or at the very least, they're lying to you. Whereas, yeah, Pablo, whilst not being so political, is I imagine if they had their Pablo heads on whilst trying to record this album in its whole, yeah, everything would have been a lot grittier, grungier, angrier, and more overtly revolutionary.
Now there's an album. Oh, what we could have had.
Well, you say we could have had. I mean, like, and again, I know, like, we sort of joke about, like, yeah, me go, I know you like this one 'cause it's more jangly. This is why I love them. Is that it isn't an album with a singular sound. And I
Yeah,
know, like, sometimes, and we've said it, we talked about it certainly going into the bends, and it's what I hear a lot of people say of going, they're all depressing, they all sound the same. Tom York has a certain way of singing. Well, most singers have a certain way of singing. It's called their voice. Whereas I think he's not given credit for how much variation he puts into it. However, that's why I think it's always a bit of a rum criticism, because certainly in this album, I think it's there in the bends, but more so here is they're not a singular band with a singular sound. They try and find the right sound, or the right sound that they think is for the song and the message they're trying to get across, and they will
yeah.
uh, vary that up. Sometimes within a singular song, but across the album, we've had everything from kind of a lot of orchestral, cinematic influences to grungier jangalang guitars to sort of beautiful almost. We haven't got to that song yet, but I would say beautiful almost nursery rhyme kind of fairy tale angelic noises. Yeah, for me, it's got the lot, and it's why it's such a special album.
Yes. So, down there, let us know what you think of Electioneering in both the song and, we can go on a political diatribe in the comments.
We love talking about politics. We'll happily talk with politics about politics with anyone, won't we?
We will.
Yeah.
As always, YouTube things, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And until next time, and there's some walls that need climbing. Good day.